Hello and welcome. We are live at the magnificent Leeds Town Hall for Switch On, launching Opera North's new season. On stage, the chorus of Opera North and members of the Opera North Orchestra. They're going to be joined by some wonderful soloists tonight for an evening of music, giving us a sneak preview of some of the delights in store, both live and digital, over the coming months. We're going to kick off with Handel. We thought that in these challenging times, some jollity and celebration might be in order. So we are going to hear Happy We, a duet and chorus from Handel's one-act opera Acis and Galatea. The soloists will be Amy Freston and Nick Watts, accompanied by members of the orchestra led by David Greed and joined by the chorus of Opera North.
Nymphs the brightest fair, thou all my bliss, thou all my joy, thou all my bliss, thou all my joy.
What joys I feel,
what charms I see,
for youth the dearest boy.
Oh, for nymphs the brightest fair, thou all my bliss, thou all my joy, thou all my bliss, thou all my joy.
The joyful sounds of Handel's Happy We from the opera Acis and Galatea with Amy Freston and Nick Watts, the soloist, members of the Orchestra of Opera North and the Opera North Chorus under the direction of chorus master Oliver Rundell, a suitably bucolic opener. And in November, you get to hear the whole thing, Acis and Galatea in a double bill with the Seven Deadly Sins by Kurt Weill. That's at Leeds Playhouse, and it's Opera North's first fully staged work since lockdown began. Now, with me to talk about both what the company has been up to over the last 6 months and more about some of those plans for the future is the company's General Director, Richard Mantle. Richard, tell me first of all, I mean, it must be incredibly exciting to hear everybody performing because you've all not been able to do the thing that you're meant to.
Indeed, and tonight actually is, I think, the first time our chorus have come together as a whole group to perform, not in front of a live audience, but obviously online, and they will be performing together later in the season.
OK, tell me a little bit about the plans then. What have you got coming up?
Well, obviously we've been living online, living digitally, which has been quite exciting, and we've learned lots about how to reimagine what opera can do for people, even though we can't perform live. And some of our full-length operas that we had recorded before have been available online, and tens of thousands of people have been watching our Ring cycle all over again, The Turn of the Screw, Trouble in Tahiti. So there's been a rich enjoyment of opera from Opera North over the summer.
And it's a big year for Beethoven, we know this. Not nearly as many anniversary concerts as one might have expected, but you are paying tribute this season.
We certainly are. We had not planned to pay tribute, if I dare say that, but one of our reactions to lockdown was to completely think of a new season that could be performed in the circumstances we have to do that. And you've mentioned the double bill of Acis and Galatea that is happening in the Playhouse with Acis and Galatea alongside the Seven Deadly Sins. I'd like to say directed and choreographed by Gary Clark. Very exciting to have him come to work with us in that way, and Anna Poole directing Acis and Galatea. So that will be our first staged event in the Leeds Playhouse. But following that, we come back into this building, into the Leeds Town Hall, to perform in concert Beethoven's Fidelio with, significant forces. Not everybody we can get on the stage, of course, but we've got a terrific lineup of a cast: Rachel Nichols, Toby Spence, Brinley Sherritt. And so
not bad.
No, it's not bad. And actually, Fflur Wyn, who you will hear a little bit later on, under the baton of Mark Wigglesworth. So it's a terrific lineup, and we're really thrilled to be celebrating Beethoven in such style here in the Town Hall.
Now, tell me a little about another new work that we're going to see a little of in a minute. It's very intriguing, Song of Our Heartland by a wonderful composer, Will Todd. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the piece.
Well, it was, Will Todd we've worked with on a number of occasions before, and as you say, he's a marvellous composer. There's been a wonderful community project in the making for about 2 years, based around sort of South County Durham, Southwest County Durham, around Shildon, where the great train museum is, and this was a very big mining and railway industrial part of the country, which of course has declined over the years, and it's can be regarded as a bit of a tough area.
So what's the story then?
Well,
of the
story is conceived by Will and Caroline Clegg and Emma Jenkins, and they brought this together. It's a story, really. It sort of starts off in a wake of an ex-miner who has died, and his family come together to think about how the future could be, and they put a lot of effort into trying to revitalise their community there in Shildon. And so that community, this piece was written for the community. It includes members of our chorus and members of our orchestra all coming together, and that was supposed to be live last May, but of course it couldn't be live, so we've turned it into a film, and we think, this is a sort of resurrection moment for County Durham, and it's probably a resurrection moment for all of us. I
was going to say, revitalising the future is exactly what you've been working so hard to achieve. Yeah. Have a wonderful next season. Thanks very much indeed for talking to me, Richard. Let's now have a sneak preview of that film version of Emma Jenkins and Will Todd's Song of Our Heartland, featuring the full orchestra and chorus of Opera North and that community chorus.
Steel workers, coal miners, wagon riders, engine drivers, take pride in this place. Take pride in this place. Take pride.
Jacqueline and Schuyler have to go. The pits and the steelworks have felt the hammer blow, and everyone's leaving, no longer viable.
An extract from Will Todd's Song of Our Heartland. The film of that new opera is going to be premiered at the Shildon Railway Museum in County Durham in October, then available after that for everybody to see on the Opera North website. Now, as Richard was just saying to me, Opera North is planning concert performances of Beethoven's only opera, Fidelio, here in Leeds Town Hall from late November. So, to give you a flavour, we are going to hear Marcellina's Arya from Act 1. She is the jailer's daughter, and she has an epic crush on a young man who has just arrived to work at the prison. What she does not know is that the object of her affections, Fidelio, is actually a woman in disguise. In blissful ignorance, here she sings of her love, and she imagines how happy their home life will be once they are wed. On stage now to sing it is the soprano Fflur Wyn, who will be accompanied by Opera North's head of music, David Cowan.
Ich schon mit dir vereint und dürfte man dich nennen. Ein Mädchen darf ja, was es meint, zur Hälfte nur bekennen. Doch wenn ich nicht erröten muss, ob einem warmen Herzenskuss, wenn nichts uns stört auf Erden. Die Hoffnung schon erfüllt die Brust mit unaussprechlich süßer Lust. Wie glücklich will ich werden, wie glücklich will ich werden. Die Hoffnung schon erfüllt die Brust mit unaussprechlich süßer Lust. Wie glücklich, glücklich, ja, wie glücklich will ich werden. In Ruhe, stiller Häuslichkeit erwach ich jeden Morgen, vergrüßen uns mit Zärtlichkeit, der Fleiß verscheucht die Sorgen. Und ist die Arbeit abgetan, dann schleicht
Fflur Wyn, accompanied by David Cowan in Marcellina's Arya from Beethoven's Fidelio. Now, this Friday, Opera North will be joining forces with Leeds Playhouse to open the Connecting Voices Festival, taking place over 3 consecutive weekends. Singers, musicians, actors, all coming together with audiences to explore themes of isolation and connection, resilience and reflection as they return to the theatre for the first time since lockdown. Our cameras have been at rehearsals to see the work being created.
Let me spell it out for you. If you tune backwards, you get eaten by a carnivore. I can kill it on my drone, kill it on my jack drone, kill it on my drone, kill it on my drone, kill it on my jack drone, kill it on my drone. It's going to be a real revelation about what it is to be connecting, because so far we're just making this little beautiful thing and we just want to share it. And hopefully, I mean, it's a really heartfelt piece, and hopefully, you know, there's going to be a really strong emotional connection, an uplifting and empowering connection on the night and in the room. So that's what we're going for, and yeah, we'll see.
Following on from a wonderful connection that Opera North and the Leeds Playhouse has been building on over the years, the companies came together and thought, well, could we imagine something that we could make for now and for this time? What's it like for the artist to come back into a performance space, but also what's it like for the audience to come back? We looked at how could we use these amazing spaces in the Leeds Playhouse and give an opportunity for a different experience.
I went straight to bed, hugging the telephone.
There are 2 really sort of strong pieces of rep. That's Poulenc's Le Voix Humaine and Beckett's Krapp's Last Tapes.
Over light and dark and famine and feasting of the ages.
Le Voix Humaine is a brand new production with a wonderful Opera North singer, Ghislaine Butterfield, with a fantastic director from Leeds Playhouse, Samina Hussein's first opera direction. So a very exciting, very fresh take on the piece. The 4th piece in the festival is a new commission from the artist Andy Brooks, Testament, which I'm thrilled to be directing, called Orpheus in the Record Shop.
Pick up my troubles in my old kit. A part of living in this life is trying to give. I started on a process of thinking about, first of all, musically, going from being a solo performer, which is a lot of my work, to being part of an ensemble, and to fuse what I do as a hip-hop artist with the amazing skills of the players and singers of Opera North. So I chatted with amazing director Elita Collins. She was reminded of the myth of Orpheus and the opera, Orpheus and Eurydice? Exactly, Gesundheit. I thought that'd be really interesting to use the myth as a jumping off point for a contemporary story. And Orpheus goes on a journey from isolation to being at one with humanity.
So it's a very varied, exciting festival with music, spoken word, exploring the spaces of the theatre, exploring new dialogue between audience and performer, and something I think we all need now, which is connecting voices and experience in a very safe, positive way.
Nestling on your shoulder, I could hear your voice exactly as it sounds to me this evening on the phone.
Ghislaine Butterfield in Poulenc's La Voix Humaine, part of the Connecting Voices Festival, which opens at Leeds Playhouse this Friday. Now, back in March, this orchestra that we are hearing tonight was busy touring a fantastic piece, a sitar concerto called Arya by Jasdeep Singh Degun. And then the pandemic happened. However, we are delighted that Jasdeep is here, and not only that, you've created a new version of part of this piece for us. Tell me what we're going to hear tonight.
Well, you're going to hear some snippets from the bigger concerto that was composed for sitar and orchestra, and we whittled it down to quintet and sitar, and whittled it down from 40 minutes to 5.
That's some serious editing, Jazz.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about, I mean, the piece is just beautiful, but these sonorities of Indian rhythms, different modes, Western harmonies sometimes Indian harmonies. Tell me about your musical roots and how you bring all of those influences together in this work.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Leeds, and I studied in North Leeds, and I studied at Leeds College of Music, and part of all the schemes like YYM, and so I'm just a Leeds lad through and through, really. But alongside that, I was also lucky enough to learn Indian classical music from my teacher, my Ustad Singh, who was a Leeds-based musician. And him and his wife used to teach in all the primary schools, and that's how I got into the music. I don't come from a musical family as such, so and it just kind of grew from there, really, and here we are today, really.
I mean, lots of people will know the collaborations between Yehudi Menuhin and Ravi Shankar that happened in the 60s and onwards from that. But those two people had to find a meeting place where they both then started working in each other's musical idiom. You've got all of this in your bones. So what was it that you wanted to put into Arya? What was it that you wanted to express? I mean, even the name Arya is written A-R-Y-A in your piece, but it sounds like Italian aria. So are those cross currents a very conscious thing for you?
Kind of. The name actually is a Sanskrit word, which means diamond. Arya is actually pronounced, and there was luckily just a parallel of Arya as a Italian kind of single voice, and actually it worked quite well because the sitar acts as that single voice. In our tradition of sitar playing, the sitar, we tried to emulate the vocals by bending the strings, so there was a very nice parallel in that sense. And then from a kind of harmonic and from a musical point of view, luckily I had the training that I had done just by living in Leeds. If I was from India, maybe I wouldn't have had the Western classical influences.
See, just by living in Leeds, you get the whole world.
Yeah, just live in Leeds, that's all I say. Come to Leeds, it's the best place in the world.
You're working for the tourist board. It's a fantastic piece. We're going to hear the first movement now in this reworking for a chamber group and solo sitar. This is the first movement of Arya. Jasdeep, Singh, Degun, Sitar soloist and the composer of Arya, accompanied by 5 string players from the Opera North Orchestra, the leader, David Greed, second violinist Katie New, violist David Aspin, the cellist Daniel Bull, and on the double-bass, Dan Storer, conductor was Oliver Rundell. Well, after those spellbinding sonorities, we move to a quite different world. Last week, in this very hall, the full Opera North Company made a recording of Act 3 of Puccini's La Bohème, which is going to be the soundtrack of a new animated film. The artist and filmmaker Matthew Robbins has been commissioned by Opera North to create a paper-cut animation of the drama of Act 3. You can see some of Matthew's gorgeous images here. The project is called La Petite Bohème, and the film is going to be projected onto walls in towns and cities across the north of England in the run-up to Christmas. So, to get us in the mood, we are going to hear the emotional duet sung by Mimi and Marcello in Act 3. To set the scene, Mimi and the poet Rodolfo fell in love right at the beginning of this opera, but their relationship is going through a rather rocky patch. Rodolfo's walked out on her. In desperation, Mimi has come to see their mutual friend Marcello at the bar where he works. She pours out her heart to him, and Marcello reveals that Rodolfo's actually inside, but Mimi is too afraid to go in. Tonight, Katie Bird sings the distraught Mimi, Tim Nelson, her friend Marcello.
Siam qui da un mese di quell'ostia alle spese. Musetto insegna il canto ai passeggeri. Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla facciata. È freddo, entrate.
C'è Rodolfo.
Sì.
Posso entrare, nonno?
Perché?
Marcello, aiuto! Aiuto!
Cos'è avvenuto?
Rodolfo, mamma! Rodolfo, mamma, mi fugge!
Quando se come voi non si vive in compagnia.
Aiutateci voi, noi se proviamo.
Perché chiamiamo in allegoria e risa e quel fior di amor.
Fate voi per
Carmen, ora lo sveglio. È piombato qui un'ora avanti l'alba, s'assopì sopra una panca. Guardate, che tosse!
Dai ieri lo sarotte, fuggì da me stanotte dicendomi è finita. A giorno sono uscita e me ne venni a questa volta.
Si desta, s'alza, mi cerca. Viene,
che non mi veda.
O rincasatemi per carità, non fate scene qua.
Mimi and Marcello, Katie Bird and Tim Nelson in that heart-rending duet from Act 3 of Puccini's La Bohème with David Cowan at the piano. We have heard already that over the summer, Opera North has been tackling the challenge of getting live opera to audiences far and wide, but you can't perform in theatres, so how do you actually make that happen? Here to reveal all is the multi-talented John Savournin, not only a bass baritone, but also he's a writer and director, and he's here to talk to me about Whistle Stop Opera. Hi, John. Tell me about the idea. How long's Whistle Stop been going?
So we started making these whistle stop operas back in 2016, and that was based on the Elixir of Love, partially because the opera was also scheduled in the company's main stage season, and they are often titles that are taken from the main stage so that they serve as a shop window, an introduction, if you like, to the opera, so that you might consider then going to the opera house and then seeing it, or just as a fresh take on seeing the opera itself.
So the idea of Whistle Stop then is to invite people into the world of opera who perhaps might be a little fearful or haven't done it before, or don't think it's their scene. Is it for grown-ups? Is it for kids? Is it for families? I mean, where are you pitching it?
It can be for both. Sometimes we're making them specifically for families and for schools. Sometimes we're making them for adults only, you know, taking it into pubs and really unusual spaces along those lines. And sometimes it's all-encompassing. They tend to be between 30 and 45 minutes in length, and they're very fleet of foot with an accordion accompaniment with 3 to 4 singers, and they'll take the audience through aspects of the opera, or the entire opera, depending on what it is, or sometimes pieces from different operas all strung into one to give you a kind of opera in a nutshell experience.
Now, one of the things that most people never see is the behind-the-scenes workings of how a pristine production gets put together. I would like a little insight from you into the near misses, the challenges, the difficulties of the sort of stuff that you've been doing this summer. Give people a sense of where it's taken you to.
Well, yes, of course. So not performing in theatres or indoors at all has been a huge challenge. So this summer we've been performing Hansel and Gretel, but of course in outdoor spaces, from castles to car parks, and of course we've contended with the weather along the way. I believe we were outside, it was the Lowry, with the audience all stood under a canopy in the rain whilst I was doing my best Gene Kelly impression with an umbrella, and we were struggling with the elements a little, but with the help of amplification and the fact that everybody is very flexible with the performance, then we were able to deliver every performance that was intended, which was great.
Now, you mentioned Hansel and Gretel. We're going to hear a little bit of it now. Something that we recorded while you were doing Whistle Stop Opera, and it's a bit of witchy skullduggery going on. Go on, tell us what's the scene we're about to see.
Yes, so in our Hansel and Gretel Whistle Stop, the idea is that it's a choose-your-own-adventure, if you like, with the Sandman acting as a narrator figure, played by myself, slightly butchering a soprano part there. And at this point...
You can't do that as well, surely. That can't be on the CV.
Quite right, I absolutely can't. And at this point in the proceedings, he's asked the audience to help create decorate the witch's house from lots of different kinds of food, and so sometimes they're made of, the walls are made of pizzas, and the roof is made of cookies, and the gutter is a licorice stick. And just at this point, Hansel and Gretel have been tucking into the witch's house and sharing that food with the audience, and the witch, of course, happens upon them.
OK, let's look at a little of that, John Savournin, thank you. Here is Hocus Pocus from Hansel and Gretel in the whistle-stop opera version.
Our characters are children, and I'm going to choose their names completely at random. I'm going to call them Hansel and Gretel.
Okay, so Hansel and Gretel have been caught in the act. And what will this witch now do to them, I wonder? After all, they did eat some of her house. Either way, I'm sure she is going to punish them.
I love little children who are cross and forceful, especially you, the deadliest morsel. Come, little mousie, welcome to my housey. Oh, it's the cave of Aladdin, a place a child could go mad in. There are apple tarts and meringues like snow, chocolate mousse, black forest gâteau. There's buttermilk and the cream that's so good for you, my sweets. Yes, oh, that's for you to eat.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused now, because I was expecting our witch to be really nasty, like most witches are. But this witch seems to be one of the nicest witches that I have ever met. She basically seems to really like baking, and she really likes children.
Oh, I love little children.
Sure.
Especially when they're plump and juicy.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Plump and juicy? You're not going to eat them, are you?
Eat us?
I think you two had better make a run for it, don't you?
Hocus pocus, witch's ground makes the victim muscle bound. Stand stock still, obey the witch. When she points her hazel switch, like a stone, don't even twitch. Hocus pocus, then comes Yocus. Child, obey, or you are dead. Face the front, march straight ahead. Place the chair where you'll be fed. Hocus pocus, bolus Yocus. Malus locus. Hocus pocus.
Okay, this is more what I expected from our nasty witch. And I wonder what she's now going to do.
Hocus Pocus from Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel, with Claire Pascoe as the scheming witch, Laura Kelly McEnroy and Jennifer Clark as Hansel and Gretel, and we heard Milos Milivojevic playing the accordion. Earlier this year, Opera North staged its acclaimed production of Britain's Turn of the Screw, the ghostly Peter Quint, hauntingly played by Nick Watts, who we've already heard duetting with Amy Freston and Handel earlier. Well, now he's going to return to the stage to perform a song from Schubert's song cycle, Die schöne Müllerin. It's Die Neugierige. A young miller has fallen madly in love with the miller's daughter, but does she return his love? In true 19th century romantic fashion, he decides to ask a babbling brook.
frage keine Blume, ich frage keinen Stern, sie können mir alle nicht sagen, was ich erführ so gern. Ich bin ja auch kein Gärtner, die Sterne stehen zu hoch. Mein Bächlein will ich fragen, ob mich mein Herz belog. O Bächlein meine Liebe, wie bist du heut so stumm? Will ja nur eines wissen, ein Wörtchen und ein Wörtchen und Ja, heißt das eine Wörtchen, das andere heißet nein. Die beiden Wörtchen schließen die ganze Welt mir ein. Die beiden Wörtchen schließen die ganze Welt mir ein. O Bächlein meine Liebe, was bist du wunderlich, willst ja nicht weiter sagen, sag Bächlein, liebt sie mich, sag Bächlein, liebt sie mich.
Nick Watts, accompanied by David Cowan in Der Neugierige, the inquisitive one from Schubert's Die schöne Müllerin. Next this evening, we are going to place the spotlight on the members of the Opera North Orchestra on the platform. Now, this Saturday, they return to this hall with the rest of the orchestra to give a concert, including Vivaldi's Four Seasons. That's in front of a live audience. Tonight, they are going to play the scherzo for us from Dvorak's Second String Quintet in G, where the dance rhythms of Czech folk music are never far away. exciting rhythms of the scherzo from Dvorak's second string quintet, played by David Breed, who's the leader of the Orchestra of Opera North, with fellow violinist Katie New, the violist David Aspin, Daniel Bull playing the cello, and last but not least, Dan Storer on double bass. Now, for the grand finale of our event tonight, from an autumnal Leeds, we are going to transport you to Sicily in the spring for one of the greatest and the most popular of all opera choruses. It is the Easter hymn from Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana. It's Easter Day. Mass is being celebrated inside the village church. We hear the choir sing Regina Caeli, Queen of Heaven. Outside is Santuzza, our heroine. With the villagers, they respond, "We rejoice that our Saviour is living." Tonight, Santuzza is sung by Elizabeth Llewellyn. The organ of Leeds Town Hall is played by Opera North's chorus master, Oliver Rundell. They are joined by members of the Orchestra of Opera North, the whole ensemble conducted by David Cowan. But before they raise the Victorian roof here, do remember to look out for all the treats in store from Opera North, both live and digital, in the coming months as part of the Switch On season. You'll find full details on the Opera North website. But for now, thank you so much for your company this evening. It's good night from me, Susie Klein, and all of us here at Leeds Town Hall. And we leave you with the glorious sound of Mascagni's Easter hymn.
riveleggiamo al Signor.